This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. What I'm looking at today is a new series that premiered on Netflix called Marianne, and it is really good. Now the thing is, what it isn't is original, and that's not a criticism in the sense that everything you see has been seen somewhere else, some other form and some other format. Nothing is new. If you can package it and present it in a way that feels new, then you've won the battle pretty much. And Marianne does that. It's essentially it combined with a little In the Mouth of Madness. And as I said, it works really well. With Marianne, it revolves around a writer who is drawn back to her small town due to a very, very, very traumatic event. And she comes to learn that she's being haunted by this ghost of a former witch named Marianne, and it wants her to write. That's its goal, to have her write. And through watching the series, you understand why it wants her to write, which I won't tell you. But in any case, like in The Mouth of Madness, the writing she does begins in certain ways, not the same, but similar ways, to define reality. And also, as I said, it's very much like Stephen King's It, thematically, in the sense that she goes back to her small town where she meets up with her friends, and essentially they become monster fighters. Sorta. In any case, what makes Marianne work so well is the casting. And Victoire Dubois as the writer works so well. She has an air of nonchalance at other times and an air of just deeply terrified at others. She is selfish. She's not unkind, but she's not a great person. Part of what makes this series so good is that you understand why she's not a great person. She's very aloof. She's manipulative. She shies away from human contact, or it shies away from her, learning that she's aloof and manipulative. And you understand why she is, throughout the show, who she is. And that's really well done. And as I said, Victoire Dubois is such a great actress. I've never seen her before this. She's been in other things. I believe she was in Call Me By Your Name and other things. And she's just really good. She emotes really well, but she doesn't over-emote. And she just does a really great job with the material. Though Marianne isn't perfect. It's structurally kind of odd in the sense that with these type of shows or movies, typically there's a slow build. Well, I should say in the better ones. Typically in these sorts of movies or television shows, there's a slow build to events start happening. We're introduced to characters. Things get progressively weirder as time moves on. As I mentioned earlier, this starts out with a bang and just gets weirder, normaler, weirder, and it goes back and forth between feels. And that's okay, but as I said, it's odd. Well, odd in the sense that it's not traditionally the way these things tend to work. So it's not that there's structurally something wrong with it. It's that it's structurally not typical. And like with any rule, if you can do it well, break it to your heart's content. I have no problem with that. If this had worked not very good, then the way it's structured could have been problematic. Being that it works very well, I don't care. It just does its thing. It does its thing well. There are some very good scare effects. It's pretty gory at times, and the witch has a tendency to move between bodies, and initially it's played by this older actress. She looks absolutely terrifying. I mean, and the thing is, she looks terrifying with nothing in the way of makeup. She has these facial expressions. She has the way of talking. It's just really creepy. I don't know where they found this woman, but she is perfect. And she just brings a higher level of eeriness to proceedings. As far as horror goes, I tend to be leery of certain countries' output. For instance, I won't watch an Indian horror movie or from Bollywood in that region because I've tried it. Admittedly, not too many times because I was turned off. They're just not terribly scary. They're trying, and they may even get there, but they're not terribly scary for the most part. America, the United States, does horror movies the best. That's not to say all our horror movies are good. They are certainly not. But we do know how to work it, and work it well. Other countries are pretty good as well, though I don't think on the par of the United States. For instance, Ireland is surprisingly strong with horror. You might not think so, but check out some Irish horror films. They are really, really good, for the most part. Britain, the UK, they're good. They can be pretty strong. I actually think Irish horror films tend to be better than British horror films. I'm not talking about Hammer horror. And even that, actually, I've never been a fan of. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's that great. In terms of horror, Irish horror is so much more effective than British horror. Of course, there are exceptions, but on the whole, I think Irish horror is much, much better. Conversely, Italian horror, I mean, you can talk about Dario Argento and Giallo and Fulci zombie movies till the cows come home. In terms of recent output, I'm not even aware of any Italian horror movies. And that's not even to say they're not there. But for whatever reason, I'm not hearing about them and I'm not seeking them out. It's just not something that's coming to the fore. What that means, I can't say. But at least as of this moment, Italian horror is pretty much living off its glory days and doesn't seem to be doing much in terms of new content. But in any case, I mentioned that because Marianne is French and it works really, really well for the most part. There are a few episodes, I think there are 8 in total. Again, it's a great number and it's very rich in terms of character building. It's surprisingly dense, which is weird when you consider that there are only 8 episodes. It builds a lot of character in those few episodes. But in terms of its tone, it gets a little slapsticky in a few episodes. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, it's distracting. I think it happens maybe once or twice, but it's really distracting because tonally it's pretty consistent until some weird pratfall happens, in which case it's like, what? It's very Stooges, which is strange. There is room left for another season of Marianne, and I would welcome it with open arms. The first is very good. It's creepy. It's structurally unconventional, but still it works. And as I said before, Victoire Dubois is such a great actress, and I would love to see her in this role again. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. Peace.